Hey, PHS, welcome to another Goat Knuckle Talk with Flo. Of course, I'm Flo, and let me introduce you to my co-host, Lisa Nolan Hafner. My apologies. Hello, Lisa.
Hi, Michael. Here we are.
So who's this good-looking bunch of guys here?
I know. Guys we all looked up to when we were in school. Please welcome, a warm welcome to Britt Mayberry, Richie Norrell, Bill Hayes, Roy Lee Mason, and Tim Johnson. Welcome, guys. Thank you so much for joining us tonight and for agreeing to come and hang out with each other and share your stories with us and the rest of your classmates and, Plainview.
And hello, class of 81, correct?
Yes.
That's right. That's right.
That's us.
So cool. And what's cool, Richie and Bill, their sisters graduating with us, Lisa, Tori and Andrea. So
Yeah.
So anyway, go ahead, Miss Lisa.
Okay, guys. So I'm going to start with you, Britt. Where do you live now?
I actually live in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, which is really Tulsa. We're kind of connected. So northeastern Oklahoma.
Okay, and Roy Lee?
I live in the Tyler area. I live in a little suburb just south of Tyler, so out in East Texas.
Pretty country out there.
It is very hot right now, though. So
yes, it is. Bill?
I live in Lubbock right now.
And nice dry weather. Lucky you.
Yeah,
that's right.
Degrees today. Really nice.
Richie, where do you live?
I live in Mansfield in the southern part of the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Okay.
Know where that is.
Yep.
Tim?
I live in McKinney, so I live up in North Dallas.
Okay, you guys are in my neck of the woods. I live in Dallas proper by the Arboretum.
Oh, wow.
And Michael's in Houston.
I'm in Hempstead, which is about 50 miles northwest of Houston. So
Yeah.
It's been here since 97, I think.
Wow.
So gentlemen, hello again. So let's
Thanks for having
start.
us.
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
glad you started this.
This is a fun project that Lisa and I are having. It's really fun hearing all the stories. So Lisa, why don't you kick off with the questions?
I will. Well, I'm going to answer a question. Somebody just asked, how did we start this?
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, so we had our 40th high school reunion last June, and it was my first reunion attending, and the largest attendance overall of any reunion of our class. And it was a real success and a lot of reconnection with people and a lot of great conversations that people didn't want it to end. It was really one of the most fun weekends of my life. And Michael had this great idea to continue the conversations. And then as we started having our own classmates on this program, other people started reaching out saying, we want to come on there. We've got stories. And so we just opened it up to all Plainview graduates and people from Plainview. And so it's kind of morphed into this event of, bringing groups of people together that had a really strong connection in high school or connections to Plainview. And it's become a real passion project for us. And it's all in good fun and good spirit. And I think the world needs a lot of feel-good stories and good memories. And so it's just been a really fun project for us.
Amen.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I want to know when you guys started playing football. Did you play Tiger League? And I'm assuming everybody here grew up in Plainview. And when did you start playing football? So I'll start with you, Bill.
Yeah, we played Tiger League football. I was on the Browns and coached by Bobby Martin and Curtis Sanders. And my worst nightmare in Tiger League football was tackling Rodney Herring. No disrespect to that, but Rodney Herring was just untouchable.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
It was just he could stop and start and dart and run in circles.
And giggling while he did it. Yeah.
Roy Lee?
Same. Tiger League, played on the Packers. Tay Hyman's dad was our coach, and I can't remember the other guy's name. They moved shortly afterward. We ended up winning the championship that year.
Huh?
Hey man, you're still in my thunder. I was on the Packers too.
Oh, were you really?
Oh, yeah.
Hard to see a pattern here. Stacked.
All
Yeah,
right. Tim, I don't even
actually,
remember
that
that,
team-
but
that team
I
was-
started off as running back and safety, and I ended up playing center because Joe Stafford couldn't center the ball, man. So I ended up playing center, which I hated, but I did it for the team, you know, and we ended up winning. We had some pretty good players, and I think my worst memories, I had a head-on collision with Steve Thompson, who was on the 49ers one time. I was playing safety, and Steve was like a bowling ball, you know, and he was coming up through there, and I just thought, I'm just going to knock him out. And I literally knocked myself out. We were both playing on the field, you know, but that was back in the days when you just got up and continued to play. You know, by the time the coaches got out there, I was already back up and started playing again. So that was probably my first concussion, was sixth grade football, Tiger League, you know, so great memories.
Yeah, Brett.
Well, I probably won the privilege. I got to play Tiger League twice. Well, most people don't know, but I went through sixth grade twice. My parents, you remember that? My parents wanted us all three in a row. We're 14 months apart. So anyway, they stuck me in there. This Mr. Simmons at Highland said, he's not mature enough to go to the next grade. He's kind of a giggler and he doesn't pay much attention. I think you ought to hold him back to be with. And it was nice because that was my age group was always below me. So that was who I hung out with because, you know, who'd you play? Nobody knew my league. And so I was the first time I think I was with the Browns. Second time I was with the Steelers.
Yeah, I remember you with the Steelers.
Yeah, we had a good time. It was fun. But anyway, that's twice.
Wow.
Wow.
Big claim to fame. Tim, what about you?
Yeah, so I was on the Packers with that, and we played with Tay Hyman. He was our quarterback for that team, and I thought Steve Thompson was on our team.
Yeah.
We
He was a
wasn't?
49er, man. He was he was an enemy, you know. Now P.W. Thompson was on our team.
Who?
P.W. Thompson, he was one of our
was on our
running
team.
backs.
I thought, yeah, so we had PW, we had Aaron Lee was on our team, and we had a lot of people we ended up playing all the way through the high school with off of that team.
Yeah, we
So,
did. We did.
yeah, we were pretty, and my bad memory of that is, you know, at the championship game that we went to play, because we were in the championship game, unlike some of the other people in this conference here. But when at that game they called your name, so you can imagine being an 11-year-old getting run out on the, you know, Bulldog Stadium field, and I dropped my helmet while I was running out, and I think I even kicked it down the
field. You sure it wasn't Rolita that kicked it?
I may have. I was kind of like him. I was kind of like going, deer in the headlights out there playing on Bulldog Stadium as a 11, 12-year-old kid. 11, it was a pretty big deal. So, or we thought it was anyway. So.
Yeah, for sure.
Bad part about that is I think Tim's brain was in his helmet when he dropped it. First shot.
What about you?
With those crappy helmets we had back then, there wasn't much brain to get knocked around.
Oh my gosh, we were playing with uniforms from like the 50s, the pants were like hanging off of us, and they were snap-in stuff. And I mean, they were old, like our
plastic face masks, those old school face masks with the little teeth thing on.
Yeah, there was the old school stuff from like the 60s in the NFL. And
it's like the stuff you
buy.
buy.
All the letters and the numbers were kind of falling off, we were at the very tail end of that. It had gone through its 20-year life cycle, I don't know when they got new stuff, but we needed it. So
yeah, it's probably a helmet you could buy like at Kmart or JCPenney or something like that.
That'd be an upgrade from what
yeah.
So that would be an upgrade if you got it from one of those places.
Yeah.
Richie, what about you, man?
Well, I actually didn't grow up or I didn't go to Plainview until 7th grade.
Okay.
So yeah, we lived outside of Crest, went to Crest school until 6th grade, and then moved into Plainview and started in 7th grade. So I was my first experience with football was in 7th grade. We actually ended up on the blue team with Coach Upchurch and those guys.
Gary.
Yeah. And
Gary Upchurch.
Coach Daly, I think Coach DeLeon was there too.
Yeah.
He was he actually, they transferred to Plainview that year too. So he knew of me from Crest, and then when they transferred, he kind of took me under his wing and kind of pushed me along because I just remember the first time putting on pads and all that stuff. It was like, had no idea which way was up or down. And I was looking around going, okay, what's everybody else doing?
Yeah. Yeah, you're the tallest of the bunch, if I recall. You're like 6'3" or 6'4".
Just 6'3", yeah.
6'3", and how were you tall? At a young
Yes,
age.
he was. Yes.
I was tall and coming through 6th grade, 7th grade, hit 8th grade. I was just average. It's actually one of the younger ones in the group. And then between 8th and 9th grade, I grew 4 or 5 inches over a summer. It was.
Oh, I remember seeing you when we came back to school as freshmen. I was like, my gosh, what happened to you? It's just like, wow. I remember it just like yesterday. I remember seeing him. I was like, oh my gosh, what happened?
It was a dramatic change, and I still have stretch marks from that summer. So,
oh man,
Didn't you stop playing for a while though?
But you had some bone pain, man. All that. That's a lot of growing over the summer, man.
yeah, and that was part of the reasons I actually played football in 7th and 8th grade, and then did not play again until my senior year.
Yeah,
Oh,
I was
really?
about to say you got recruited because they brought you in. Because I remember them saying something about you were playing basketball and they wanted you to play because you were so tall or something.
Yeah,
Like
it was actually Coach Moore. I can't remember. It wasn't the head basketball coach Moore. It was I don't know if he's defensive line or offensive line.
He was defensive line. He was my
Coach Moore, yeah, with the nose. Yeah.
Ed Moore.
Ed Moore.
Yeah, and he asked me one after basketball season junior year. He said, "Hey, you want to come out? Interested in playing football?" And we weren't doing anything in off-season basketball, so I was like, "Yeah, if I can, I'll come out spring training. If I can contribute, then I'll play." And that's kind of how I ended up. I came out for spring training and looked like I was going to be able to contribute in a couple of places, and so that's kind of.
I remember when they were trying to look at people to come out, and you could jump out of the gym. I mean, he not only had long legs, but he could jump out of the gym. It's impressive, very impressive.
Well, that's long gone nowadays.
He was the alley-oop king, man. He could definitely catch that ball.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but was his jumping as impressive as his hair? I remember he had some pretty curly locks going on back then.
He did.
But I think everybody had some. Talking about hair, that was PW. Remember PW?
Yeah.
With the rake.
The hair was coming out of his ear holes and out the front.
Out of the hole.
Yeah, he had the big old afro, man. And but it was, I thought it was cool. I was like, man.
So gentlemen, when did you guys start hanging out with each other? I mean, like what age? I know there's 5 of you guys, but I'll start with Roy Lee. When did you start hanging with some of the men?
Well, we were really kind of, that was when they threw all the 7th graders. We all went through 6th grade at our grade schools. It was K through 6, and then they kind of started rearranging things, and so they put all the 7th graders together. And we all kind of got to be friends that 7th grade year. I mean, I think Brent, you were our quarterback, weren't you, on the Blue?
Yeah.
And so I was friends, and I met Bill, and I knew who Richie was, and Tim. I met all these guys, and we all were kind of friends. We didn't run around with each other all the time, but we were, we were friendly. There wasn't any animosity between anybody. Everybody kind of liked each other and got along, and so that was kind of when it started. Was definitely in the 7th grade.
I think to piggyback on that. When they put us all in the stuff, we were the first class to go all from, elementary. We all went to 1 7th, 1 8th, and then we got put to, the high school 9th, 10th, 11th. So we were the first grade that did that. I think that explains one of the reasons why class of 81, we're so close, is because we never were on other teams. We were always in the, same school together. And when you're in elementary, you get put on different teams anyway. So you knew the guys across, the street. You knew the guys out in the country. Everybody just knew each other. We all got along. I think, people talk about racial discrimination and stuff like that. I don't think the class of 81 has any idea until we left Plainview what they were talking about. We just didn't have any of that. We just, and people sometimes say, well, you grew up in a bubble. Maybe we did, but it was an awful good bubble.
That's a great statement, because it just wasn't like that in our school in general, but especially in our athletic program. We just, everybody was like our brother. We played together, and we all loved each other. So
yeah, I think especially when we got into high school ball and Coach Sherwood came along, it was just the culture he brought and developed, it just, that kind of stuff. I don't know, it wasn't tolerant. Just the way he taught us to do stuff, right? It just didn't play into things.
Right.
So
and that, I tell you what, that changed our sophomore year. I remember, you guys remember off season, our freshman year, right, under George Kirk.
Oh, yeah.
We'd been playing under that offense, and then we got up there and we were doing that off season stuff our freshman year. And I've never heard so much screaming in my life as in the field house. It was kind of scary, man.
I was wondering
if anybody is,
I was wondering if anybody remembered that, because I remember like when the first off season they put all of us together, and it was like King of the Hill, or it was like it was like Mad Max and Thunderdome in that place.
It was kind of brutal, man.
I'm kind of glad Kirk left, man, because I don't know if my life would be the same if he if I played.
I mean, like we were like 14, 15-year-old kids. There was cursing going on and screaming, and I was like, what is this? Like I really had never heard that kind of stuff before.
Now, is that cursing from the coaches or from everyone?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, they literally threw us into a big pile of people. It's like whoever stays in the middle wins. And I mean, it was brutal.
Yeah.
Damn.
We were all freshmen. It was the spring of our freshman year when Coach Sherwood accepted the job. And I think all of us remember going in there and, taking a knee and watching the older guys, break a huddle. And we were like, wow, that's pretty cool. But from that time on, from the end of our, that middle of the freshman year, nobody cursed at us. Nobody grabbed us. Sherwood had a different set of, we had gentlemen coaches, and that was amazing. I mean, to see it done that way.
Yeah. And gentlemen and, Christian guys, 3 of those guys I went to church with all through high school. Sherwood, Billingsley, and Tone, we all attended the same, and their kids were all about my age, so I knew them all really well. And but yeah, it was a totally different atmosphere. He knew how to get the most out of his players without screaming at them. He knew how to get that going, and he could just say it, and you wanted to do, you'd run through a brick wall for that man,
Absolutely.
So,
yeah. Well, and he would pull that, he would call it I think he called it being wound tight. And it's like he would call Wild Bill wound tight. He knew how far he could push him when he was ready just to overperform above his abilities. He had that innate ability to judge us all on our level. He didn't treat us all the same. We all were treated different because he knew we had different levels, number one, of athleticism, but also, we come from different homes, and he kept us together as a group, but he could pull you over to the side and just make you feel like $1 million man. And it's just amazing.
Yeah. What about you? I was gonna say, Richie, you coming in the 7th grade. How do these boys treat you? They're like, who's this lanky kid? Or
no, it wasn't anything like that. I mean, it was
good.
It was, I think part of it too was, like everyone was saying, we all joined together. We were all coming from a lot of different places, so they may have known each other from Tiger League and stuff like that, but there wasn't this everybody was coming from different places, so it was kind of like, okay, we're all together and we moved forward. I mean, I never felt like an outsider, other than just being the fact that it was a new school and I was having to get to know everybody. I think I knew 2 people in the school, and that was 2 people I went to church with, and that was David Hooper and Angie By, and that was it.
David Hooper.
So
that's cool.
But yeah, I mean, the coaches were all, great during that time. And we just worked together. They worked, with whatever skill level they saw you had, they tried to just help you improve as much as you could. And
Yeah.
we worked as a team. It was always about the team. It wasn't about individual performances. And,
I think that's one of the things that makes 81 group special. Because Tim and I at one time, when Sherwood got there, Tim and I were two sophomores that got put on varsity. Tim kind of, now correct me if I'm wrong, Tim kind of went back and forth depending on who the JV was playing or who was sick or if they had to fill in. So sometimes he'd play, but we traveled around with that 78, that awesome team that had 3 running backs that all went to Division I schools, and the line was just massive. I mean, they were talented, they were big, they were strong, and I mean, they were grown men, so, and then you look at the 81 team, we were small. I mean, and Tim will tell you, Tim, you were pulling guard, right?
Yeah.
No, I was
defensive tackle.
And guard and tackle at a whopping 190 pounds.
Yeah, but Tim could run like a running back. I mean, he Sherwood loved that about him. He'd pull out that hole and hit out run the running back, and I mean, it was just great. But that was the Sherwood theory is you're gonna play people bigger than we are, and so his whole system worked for us because we were always out weight, height, weight, and so when you're not taking them on face to face and you're trapping them from the side. I mean, it was just brilliant. It really helped our team, and that's one of the reasons why I think we were the second team, Sherwood team in Plainview to make the playoffs. So, again, undersized.
That 78 team was a wishbone team. They were built because that's what Kirk ran. They were huge, man. They were huge. So when they ran the wing T, they just murdered people. It didn't really matter. They just ran over everybody anyway. We were a true wing T team. We were set. We were set up for that. We were small, quick, and ran it really well. So that's really how
our guards were like running backs. They were pulling one way or the other all the time, and they were great trapping guards. It just made the system work. Same thing with our defense. We did a lot of stunts. Coming in from different ways because it was hard for we were going to have a hard time beating somebody face to face like that. That 78 team would just beat you up, like Sherwood said. They played aggressive. That offensive line. I mean, they came off the ball.
They were mean.
Mush. They just killed people.
Yeah, but when we got into the playoffs,
Odessa Permian
threw a beat down on us. They put me in that game. Coach Moore's like, Johnson, get in there. It was like at the goal line, they just nailed me, and the guy goes running right by me for a touchdown. I was like, well, it was my play for the game, and I came back out.
Well, I was going to ask you guys, when you guys were JV, the other guys, did y'all scrimmage against the 78 team or?
Well, actually, I've had a good story for that. So I was on JV.
Yeah.
And we were undefeated that year too.
Yeah.
And, but towards the middle of the year, they started calling me up to go practice with the varsity. And that was that first year that we played. So we got the hand-me-down Rydell, those red helmets. And so at that time, varsity had the nice back, the white helmets. So they would call me over, and it's like, here I come running over from JV with my red helmet. And all those 78 guys would start calling me Green Weenie. Get over here, Green, and just harass. So finally, one day they called me over. I'm like, damn it. And Coach heard me. He's like, what, you don't want to be over there? I'm like, no. Anyway, they moved me back down for another 3 or 4 games to teach me a lesson. But man, it's like you'd go over there and they just harass the hell out of you.
Oh yeah.
So Grant Taylor.
I can hear Grant Taylor.
Yeah.
Green weenies.
Green weenies.
He started that our freshman year, man. I mean, that was
But Grant, that's what I'm saying. They were grown men. I mean, Grant was driving a 18-wheeler when he was 16.
Yeah,
I mean, he could change a flat without, needing a jack. I mean, these guys were beasts. They really were. I mean, they were true corn-fed boys that, and they loved each other's company, and they were very humorous, but man, they could get on you pretty quick.
They
And he
call
wore small
Uber.
shoes. He wore shoes smaller than his feet because he said it made him run faster.
That,
Yeah.
was that intimidating to be called up to varsity like that?
Oh, yeah, I mean, yeah, it was a little bit because, like I said, they would just harass you the whole. And like I said, it's not like when they called me over there, I blended in because I had that bright red Bridell stupid helmet that we had to wear. So it's like you just stuck out like a sore thumb.
Well, and Tim, you probably hadn't made it to 190 yet, had you?
Well, actually, I was bigger then. I was one of those. I actually had my growth spurt around my 8th grade, 9th grade year. So I kind of topped out. And by our senior year, I was still I was around 200 or 210 at that time. So I started losing weight. In fact, Coach Toad's he's like, Johnson, I want you to drink a milkshake every night before you go to bed because you need to get some weight on you.
Yeah.
That's amazing. You start at that age, you start getting a lot of activity. You can't put weight on. I could never put weight on.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, at that time I played both ways, especially my senior year. I played both ways, and I couldn't do it. But with the way they prepped us for the games and stuff, my nerves, I would just be so wound up that I couldn't eat. I'm like, if I ate it, I couldn't eat until midday Saturday, or I'd throw it up. And so I couldn't.
Yeah, those big team meals, those big team prep meals, I never could eat all that stuff, man. Because me too. It'd make me sick, man. And some of those guys are over
we
there
were
eating,
part of that.
10
part of that
pancakes and all
experiment
that. Like, how are they eating all that food? I'll throw up, man.
Well, they started that experiment with us too. Remember, it's like the high carb. I mean, you gotta understand where science of football and stuff is now to then. It's like they used to feed us orange juice, pancakes, and syrup.
Yeah,
That's
we
what
need
we
all
got
that.
for pregame meal. It was like, okay, there's no protein to get us. Like, we're going to be jacked up for the next hour. You want us to go take a nap?
Then we're just going to go.
Up on carbs.
That's funny. The coach, our class of '83, we had some of the guys, football guys, and they mentioned the pancakes, and none of them liked it. None.
Yeah.
And then Coach Tomlin, and when we had him on our show, they laughed at that. So yeah. But I can imagine those weren't very good. But
Yeah, your class was a pretty good football team too. That
Yeah.
that's a good group of guys.
I remember going and seeing them play San Angelo Central, man, in that was that a quarterfinal game, regional quarterfinal game? I forgot what it was. That was a good game. That's when they had Braxton,
Robert Braddock and
Braddock,
Lake Barton, Big Mo, Booger, and again a bunch of real close guys, good group of guys. I think again looking at it up and down the line, I think that's what makes Plainview so special. I really do.
Well, hey guys, when you guys got on the varsity and started, I'll start with Bill. What position did you start, Bill, when you started for the Bulldogs? Or Angry Red, my apology.
Defensive end. I weighed a whopping 155, 160 pounds.
Oh, they had you for your quickness, huh?
I think I was just the last one that didn't have a job, so they felt pity and gave me
No, you earned that spot, bud. I was right there with you. You earned that.
So what about you, Richie? Your senior year, weren't you a kicker, a place kicker?
I was actually. I wasn't a starter. I actually backed up Brett at both positions, at both tight end and linebacker, and on offense on tight end. Brett and I would exchange series. So
who was y'all starting quarterback then in '81?
Tay.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, Tay got a scholarship up
we got
to.
to kick back full circle by the time we got there, because at least us Packer guys, we came back full circle by that.
Yeah.
Rub it in.
What about you, Roy Lee? What position did you start?
I played well. I didn't start either. I made varsity my junior year, but I made a deal with our defensive coach Tomlin that if Rodney Herring and we went back down and played JV ball again, that we would be the starting corners our senior year, but it didn't happen. But I started both ways on JV my junior year, it was a blast, a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But I backed up Pat Brown at fullback, and I got quite a bit of playing time with him. There was times when he got hurt or got winded. I got to go in and play quite a bit, and I also played both sides corner. And there's a couple of games that I got quite a bit of playing time at. Most of my playing time came on offense, but I got some playing time, especially when we played Coronado there towards the end of the season. And the week before we played them, they were ranked like in the top 10 in the state. And
Yeah.
they got beat, and we went in, and we were these little old bitty guys, and I think we beat them 35-7 or something. We beat the crap out of them on their field. And I got to play most of the second half, and it was so much fun. We were just running around, just knocking their heads off, and it was great. So anyway,
the first play of the game wasn't a lot of fun. I still remember the guy I lined up against. The offensive tackle for Coronado is a guy named Rodney Staggs, and he was 6'4" and 280. And
Yeah.
5'9" and 155 pounds.
Yeah.
And I thought, what in the world are we doing on the field with these guys? And after the first play, I knew what we were doing on the field. We run around them and all, around where they were huge, but they were so slow.
They had two big old ends too. I don't remember if they were tight ends or split ends, but both of those guys were like 6'4". Do you remember that?
Somebody lowered like
they had two big old guys, and one of them the ball he went up to catch it, and I hit him, and I laid him right out, and we hit the coach. We knocked the coaches over on the sideline. I drove him into the bench, and it was great. One of those deals where you got to lay a lick on somebody on their bench, and anyway. Yeah, they had a couple of big old tall ends, like 6 inches taller than me. So they were big.
Mr. Mayberry, what about yourself?
Let me see. My junior year, I was starting at quarterback, and then it was against Monterey. I crushed my right hand thumb joint right at the base. And so I didn't play the second half of the year. I had a couple of pins put in it. And then I came back next year. My right hand didn't work very good. So I played tight end and linebacker. I played linebacker kind of as a sophomore. I got in some games with quarterback and sophomore because the team, 78 team was so good. So I did get more playing time probably than I deserved. And then so my career was kind of up and then down and then sideways and then back in. Had a great time. Wouldn't change a thing.
That's cool. Lisa, you have another question for him?
I do. I'll start with Bill. So what was your most memorable experience? It can be, a particular game or with your teammates.
The most memorable experience to me was going into Hereford and beating their ass after all the talking we did and everything. I mean, what was it? 21-0 or something.
Yeah.
And we went in there. I mean, we thrashed them.
Yeah.
But then later on, we thrashed Coronado. So the Hereford game was a pretty good memory for me.
Plus, Burt Wofford was one of their captains.
Yeah.
Burt?
Yes,
he was from Plainview. He moved to Hereford. He's a great guy.
I talked to Burt at our last reunion, and that game, we got an interception. And we were running it back, and I looked for Burt to try to hit him. Before I get to him, he outweighed me by 100 pounds. He hit me with the forearm and knocked me flying, and he still remembered that too. He said, I saw you looking at me.
Yeah. Well, just to give you guys in, I'll let you guys in. I think he played with us till like the freshman or sophomore year. Then he moved to Hereford.
Yeah.
And then he was one of their superstars, no doubt about it.
Yeah, he's 6'4". He's a big old guy.
Did you remain friends with him though?
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
Oh, yes. He came to our reunion. Yeah.
Okay.
That's
wonderful.
cool.
Love Burt.
That's cool.
Love Burt.
So Richie, what's your most memorable experience playing football with these
Well,
guys?
there were several, but I guess because it was the one game I did get to start because I think Britt was sick or only played linebacker, but Carlsbad game. And we went there. It was a long trip and just had a really, really good game. And it was just that was part of it. The other one was the Coronado game. That was a I had a good game that game, and that was most memorable to events. I will say that I do want to give props to these guys, because until their junior year, they hadn't, if I remember correctly, they hadn't lost a game against any other school except the school within Plainview. And
Damn.
then I think the junior year was the first year that anybody had lost a game to some other school.
So,
But the probably the most memorable experience I had, and I figured out I shouldn't be playing defense, was we were scrimmaging against Paladura, and a guy comes through the left side, their running back comes through the left side of the line, cuts back right. I'm staring him in the face, and I just freeze, and he cuts back, flies up the field, scores a touchdown. I'm just sitting there going, okay, I shouldn't be playing this the ball. He was quick, but he wasn't that quick. He was, I just froze. But that was probably my most memorable reason to sit there and go, okay, defense isn't your thing. That's the other thing, is the Carlsbad game is I got to redeem myself a little bit, even though I was only in for a couple of plays. So
well, let me ask you, that you, since you were a basketball player, were there any basketball players on the other teams as well that you recognized?
I think there was one or two on Coronada's team, and but I just don't recall exactly who they were. Monterey typically would have one or two players as well, but yeah, I don't recall a lot of the players from the other teams or basketball.
Yeah.
What about you, Tim?
Okay, anybody?
Yep, so I got a couple of things on mine. One is, and I don't remember, who was our trainer that had gotten bit by a rat or something? Philip. The thing I remember from him is when we were at, I think we may have been playing Monterey. But anyway, we were in Lubbock, and we read that poem or whatever he did and wrote. And we had that whole before the game. It was really pretty emotional, and
it was touching. You're right.
You know, kind of getting back, you know, how we took people, you know, we just loved him. So that's one thing that I remember from our games. I'm like Brent, we were talking about it yesterday. I really don't remember very many games, other than I was dead dog tired by the end of them. But I can tell you one thing, and you guys will get a laugh out of this. And again, it goes to show how much things have changed, is they didn't give you water. And so you remember how the quick kick, it's like, quick kick time. And everybody just haul, and they give you this little Dixie cup. It was basically Kool-Aid with salt in it.
Yeah.
It was a little bit of ice, and you would suck on ice. It was like, and your mouthpiece would have just white gunk all over it because you didn't have any spit.
Yeah, man, it was like totally is anti, you know, you're like, people are out there dehydrated, you know, especially in 2 days, you're just dying.
Yeah.
And they're like,
Like
you can't have a water break for another 90 minutes.
They wouldn't give you any more. Just that one damn cup. It's like, that's your cup, get out of here.
I'm glad times have changed.
Yes.
Lee,
what about you? Yeah.
Well, I kind of gave my positive memory of that Coronado game. That was a lot of fun. And another game that I got to play a lot in was that Carlsbad game, and they had a big old defensive tackle, I think, that was an all-state dude. He came in pretty highly ranked. I think, and Pat, I don't know if Pat got hurt or if he was winded, what was going on, but I went in and I played a lot on offense in that game. And there was a couple of times when we ran that tackle trap, and they faked it to the fullback. And I mean, I hit him a couple of times. I hit him full blast, and I guess he was on his heels because I just laid him out, man. I hit him, and it was almost like I form tackled him, you know. And the next Monday, you know, we looked at the film. I forgot when we looked at the film, and it was one of those deals where Sherwood goes, I want everybody to look at this. And so he goes back and forth, back and forth. You know how he used to do that with
Yeah,
the
yeah.
and he would show, and he called me out in front of the team, and I got a big red dot for my big hit on that guy. So that was one of the highlights of my career. You know, I laid out the defensive tackle for Carlsbad, you know, a couple of times. But it was a fun game. It was a long, like they said, long trip, man. Like 5 hours out there, you know.
I know why. I probably know why you got a lot of playing time, because PPAT was winded from running up and down the field, because we ran up the score pretty good on those.
Yeah, probably right. He was running. He had probably had 200 yards rushing. He had to take a break a few. Yeah, so like, get in there, Woody. Like, okay.
We used to, I remember from one practice with PPAC, because you know we used to do that pull trap where I pull and go up between the center and the other guard. And I mean, I'm running. It was a beautiful play. I'm running, and I'm just running this, and all of a sudden PPAC comes up and hits my back and starts pushing me down the field behind him. And I'm running as fast as I can. He's like pushing me down the field.
That's
Right.
funny.
Britt,
I would have to say most memorable was my district, Amarillo High, because and Sherwood said he told us all this would happen, but you know, your last game, you know, with your friends and everything, I can almost remember every play, you know, every penalty, you know, the frustration and then you know, being a better team. We were a better team. And that just
we beat them earlier in the season. We played them in non-district, and we beat them pretty handily, and then we just didn't play good.
Yeah.
And so it was a huge, it was rough.
But we should have beat them, and that's the one. Even 4 years of college, all that stuff I played, that's the one that still wakes me up at night. It is. It still hurts. It's sad, but it's been a while. But I got to get over it eventually.
Well, they went all the way to the semifinals after beating us. What was it? What was the final score? Like 10-7 or something?
And
They beat El Paso.
Don't get Bill started on this, man. He'll go off on this one.
So I remember we lined up for like a 40-yard field goal. Harold was trying to kick a 40-yard field goal at the end of the game, and it didn't fly. But man,
I'm glad it wasn't me trying to kick it. I mean, that's just so much pressure. And I feel hard, you know, Harold King did his best. And I mean, it was just a rough way to end the season. And I think from that, I think, Tim, there's a picture somewhere of you and me and Tay Heineman right after the game. I think Sherwood kept it in a locker room for,
I got that picture.
years. Oh, did you?
Yeah, I got it. It ended up back with me somehow. So yeah, I actually got that picture. That I think it was at the Field House restaurant or something. Anyway, but yeah, it's that picture.
Yeah, that was just that's just the snapshot. That's sports, I guess.
Yeah, and that was a tough game because I thought the same thing.
Yeah. What's that, Lisa?
you played college football?
Yes, I played at New Mexico State University. As a matter of fact, my first roommate there was Billy Williams, who was a senior on that 78 team with Royce Coleman and Irvin Davis in the backfield. Billy Williams, he was one of the best running backs I've ever seen. He had, they say he had more jelly than any jam factory. I mean, he could run. He was something special. He passed away about, I think, last year.
Is that right?
Yep, he passed away.
You know, that was another rude awakening when you got to college, and it's like and I remember getting hurt, and they're like, "So you want to play? You want to go sit on the bench?" And it's like, I guess I want to play.
You go to Lubbock Christian, is that right? Yeah. That was it's a lot of fun. I can't thank you guys enough for having us together. This is I'm retiring next month, so this is I told Tim and Bill and Richie, I'll tell you too, and also Roy Lee. I saw Roy Lee not too long ago, but I'm gonna hunt you guys down and have a visit because I can't believe we're all 61, 60, 61, 62 years old. And life's gone quick, man. I just talking about the Amarillo High game gets me all emotional again. It's been a while. It seems like yesterday, but it's been a while. Richie, do you have anybody I can come see to help me?
Yeah, Richie and I were going to play golf at our reunion here a couple of years ago, but it turned out it was only he and I, and we stayed up till about 3 in the morning. And I called him, and he's like, we were both kind of. I was like, yeah, I'm just going to have some coffee. So we ended up not playing, but yeah. So I saw him and Bill at that. I think Britt, you had something going on, man. Is your daughter or something? I forgot what was going on.
There was something. It was something big.
You didn't make it. Thompson didn't make it. I forgot what was going on. So a couple
there
of you guys didn't make it, but that was we still had a good group show up.
Yeah.
Good group.
Good group.
Well, that's cool.
Good people.
Well, hey, did was the Estes trip around in '81 when Coach Sherwood?
I think we were the first ones to go.
We were the
So,
first ones. Tim.
Who went out of this group?
I know me, Tim, and Vondel. Vondel was with us.
Tay went too, didn't he?
Who?
Tay, didn't he go?
Yeah, I think Tay Hyman went. And who else?
I don't remember who else. There was about 8 of. I just remember we learned some skit and came back and did that stupid skit for the team.
But we laughed through the whole thing. Yeah, and that's just when you say, Tim, it was a great experience, but it just showed you because we didn't pay for anything. I don't know how it got paid for. We just wound up in Estes, I think the Booster Club or something. But
FCA, I think probably.
Yeah, but anyway, Sherwood, I don't know how it all came about, but that was a trip where you got to meet a lot of people across the country, great athletes, but all for the common cause, which is, I think, what Sherwood and his staff, they were like, I think Roy Lee or somebody pointed out, they just come, they're gentlemen, but they come to you with a Christian heart. And I think also Roy Lee mentioned they never yelled at us. I think the worst thing Coach Sherwood ever said to me, he put his arm around me one day and kind of walked me over. He's like, Britt, I thought you could do that. But if you can't get it done, my job is to find somebody who can. I want that somebody to be you. So you want to try it again? Yes, sir. I want to try it again.
I'll just
That's
kill
about
you.
as harsh as it got. That's as harsh as it got.
Yeah, exactly. Can you do it any better than that? And you're like, oh, you bet I can. You bet I can.
Hey, Tim, you mentioned that skit. I vaguely remember a skit because we were freshmen, right, Lisa?
Yeah.
Yeah. No juniors.
No,
we're sophomores. We're sophomores.
You
We're sophomores. I remember a group of you guys did a skit where y'all were holding each other and y'all were yelling like at the moon or
I
something.
think the one we did, remember we got a sheet and we were like some big elephant doing tricks. And
I don't remember.
The back end had a bottle of water.
As to what it was. I just remember we did the goofy thing.
Yeah. No, the front guy, it was like a big animal. You're standing under there, but the guy on the back end has the water bottle. And you're supposed to walk over. You get somebody to lay down. You're going to get the elephant to go over them. And that last one raises the leg and pours the water bottle on them.
Yeah, that kind of jogs the memory.
That was it.
Oh my gosh. So did any of you other guys play college football?
Besides Tim and
Brett?
No, I didn't.
Man, I was too little. I still weighed less than 150 pounds when I graduated high school. So,
well, I can tell you, I played a lot of it. I was defensive captain the last 2 years and had a ball, but it was nothing like high school. High school's the best. It's awesome. I mean, it's the other stuff. I look back and I got a lot of shoulder replacement, knee replacement, all kinds of issues. But got a school paid for, but that's fine. But that high school stuff and that bonding with these guys for a lifetime, there's no better memories than high school football. Just don't happen.
The way Coach Sherwood got the whole community behind it. Remember, every game week we'd get those paper bags full of letters from all the grade schools.
Yeah.
And,
Yes.
It was crazy how, I mean, like I said, we can appreciate we had Kirk and then Sherwood and how he came in and got the community behind it and changed it to Angry Red. Because I mean, he was, I think one of the questions is like, where I'm at today has to do with him and Coach Moore and the way that they taught me and Coach, kind of like you're talking about, Coach Moore, used to just, my whole sophomore year, he just chewed on me and chewed on me. He's like, Johnson, play's over there. Why are you standing here? And I'm like, because the play's over there. And he goes, no, you belong over there too. But, you know, him teaching me to do that extra effort is what paid off our senior year for me.
But think about the guys that we had. Wendy Williams, Pat Tone, Neil Billingsley. I mean, they were older, more mature, they were calm, and they had good sayings. And then let me see, I'm leaving Coach Tomlin. Yeah, I remember Coach Tomlin.
Yeah.
And then we had the guys that stuck around, Ronnie Noe, remember him?
Yeah, yeah.
And Kevin Wiseman, and then Buck Buchanan. Buck stayed around.
Buck, yeah, he did.
Yeah. So I mean, all those guys, you would see them in church, good fathers, good families, you know, and their wives would hug you after the game. You know, you could have played like crap, and they're telling you how wonderful you are, you know, and how happy they are that you're part of the team. And you know, it's just, you know, the whole community is just magical.
The other thing I remember is they actually taught us technique. Because I mean,
yes,
it wasn't like you go to watch some of these and they're like line you up and beat you to death. It's like they taught you technique. And like I even remember you, Bill, right? That was back when you could jack people in the helmet, and you know, they taught you guys how, and you probably love that being your size, jacking people in the face mask to get them off you.
Bill liked that stuff. Oh, and I forgot somebody, Benny Witherspoon. Y'all remember him?
Yeah, Benny. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Coach Brown was part of that.
Yeah, Coach Brown. That's right.
Yeah, he was going. He was on there.
There's probably some more. I can't, you know, few headbutts have cost me some brain cells.
Yeah, Tomlin was a character. He always had something funny to say at practice, you know.
Oh yeah.
He had a twin brother, and he used to talk stories how they used to do this thing called 6 inches, you know. And they would get up and they'd put their fist right with 6 inches, and they'd see who could like knock each other out from 6 inches. That was their game. And I'm like, you guys are nuts, man. You know, but that's that kind of stuff he would tell us during practice, you know.
Well,
they're right about technique. You finally learn how to, you're reading somebody in the line, you know, you're not watching the quarterback, you're watching, they taught us how to, you know, some upper level stuff, you know, to read, pass and run. And we had different defenses that we ran. Some of them was pretty complicated. To me anyway, it was way beyond what we learned under George Kirk. I'll take that. 3D.
Well, so before we leave Coach Tom, one impression he left on me, he was a good family man. I mean, you know, he loves his wife and kids, and I remember
he was another Christian. He shared the gospel with us one afternoon out there, 2 days. We were all dying from thirst, and he said, "You guys ever heard of Jesus Christ?" And we were like, "Yeah, can we have a drink now?" So
anyway. Yeah, I think I saw him a little earlier when I passed out.
Yeah, do y'all remember? Do you guys remember that Wednesday we would have short practices because Coach Sherwood church on Wednesday
night? Yeah, exactly.
Every time, because normally that's for you guys. Most teams practice a long time on Wednesday. It's midweek. You only got one more practice for the game. Sherwood had short practice on Wednesday, and every time when we would get ready to go, he'd blow the whistle. And he'd say, "Hey, if any of you guys want to go to church, just meet me by the van. I'll be waiting on you, but I'm going to go to church. Love to give you a ride." He said it almost every Wednesday. But that, again, he showed us it wasn't about football. There was a lot more to it. And all of his staff just reiterated, you know, what he stood for. So we're lucky.
Yeah, we were extremely lucky.
Well, Brent, I want to interject. You said earlier that nothing compared to high school football. I think that you feel that way because of the implementations of all the things that Coach Sherwood brought in. I mean, you would feel very differently if it had been Coach Kirk or somebody else. I think anybody that played under Sherwood has this exact same sentiment.
Yeah.
I mean, he had such an incredible impact, and that leads us to the next. What I want to ask next is, how did Coach Sherwood impact your life? And I'll start with Richie.
Well, for me, I unfortunately I didn't have as much time to spend with him, but he wasn't only a leader of men, but he was a maker of men. And you know, he demonstrated that. The whole coaching staff demonstrated that, and you know, that's the impact. I mean, he was showed us all how to be leaders, and I think that's the greatest impact he had on me.
Bill?
Well, I gone back and forth. What I learned under Sherwood is it doesn't matter what size you are, how big you are, how small you are, how slow you are. You give something your entire effort. I mean, you give everything you've got plus 10, and you can do whatever. And that's served me well through my working life. And you know, I had no business playing football. I didn't have any talent, but I would outwork anybody. And I still will. That's
Yep.
just I don't know, something about it. He just clicked with me, and it just it's hard to explain, but he really taught me to believe in myself and just give everything you have. You know, especially somebody my size. I didn't have the luxury of having Mayberry's talent. I had to give more effort than talent, and so he taught me to believe in myself.
Absolutely.
Nice. Good.
Awesome. Roy Lee?
Well, number one, he brought a kind of a peaceful confidence to the program. Everybody wasn't all, nervous that somebody was going to scream at him the next thing. And I don't, and listen, I could have played football under that. I mean, that's kind of was the name of the game back in those days. People screamed and hollered and stuff. And we just thought that was kind of the way it was until Sherwood came, and we understood there's another way to do that. And there's another way to get the most out of your players without screaming at them. And just what Bill and Britt said, that they knew how to get the most out of their players, in kind of a gentle, fatherly fashion, I guess. I don't know how to explain it. But they really encourage their guys, to work hard, and they had ways of getting the most out of you that didn't involve, harshness. And so I'll always remember that. I'll always appreciate that and respect him. See, he was really a game changer in Plainview, and I think probably for most of the guys that played under him, it goes the same way. So,
Yeah. Tim?
Yeah, I think with me, the thing, he brought a lot of mental to the game. And the thing that's always stuck with me in life is they used, how we kind of getting back to some of the stories they've told about how you mentally prepared, like Bill was talking about, it doesn't matter how big you are. Remember, one of the first things, it's not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight and the dog when you go out there. And just, like I said, the whole mental thing I really bought into. And like I said, I bought into it to the point to where literally I would, by the time the game get going, I, get wound up on things. But that's the thing that just has always stuck out with me is the mental part of it, and how he would, like, no one really realizes this, but remember each week he would bring in someone to speak to us
Motivation.
about life and what's going to be down the road and how to plan for life and different things. So he just brought a whole mental aspect to it that's really impacted my life, my whole life. I mean, like I said, I don't think I would have achieved a lot of what I've achieved without those lessons and foundational things he gave us.
Awesome. Brent?
I used to hound Coach Sherwood for the keys to the field house. I don't know if Tim remembers, but I had a set of keys to the field house second semester of my sophomore year, because he would say he'd open it up anytime we wanted, and I kept knocking on his door, and he and Jackie would have to give me the keys. And then so he finally gave me my own set of keys. He drove, I was 30 years old when I got married. He drove 8 hours to my wedding, him and Jackie. I mean, he was just, I guess he was such an inspiration, but I loved football. I love being part of a team. And I think that's what he brought, is we all want to be a part of this thing that's happening. But what he really taught me was there's a lot more things more important than football. But if you go about it like you prepare for football, you're going to be successful at those other things. So you prepare, you treat people right, you know, and you work hard, you outwork and you be kind. You don't have to, you know, he just taught all those things and it served me well. And again, these are the things I'm trying to teach my kids and I guess be a part of in my community, because we all got to see it up close and how to do it right. And Sherwood sent out and his staff, because, you know, they went out other places, but we're all just little soldiers for Sherwood going out there trying to do it right. When a kid has a bad game, you let him know, hey, that's okay. That's not you. You know, you're bigger than this. There's a lot more to life than that. And you can win. But on the field, scoreboard win is not the same thing as winning in life. And I think we've all learned that. So I'm proud of these guys.
Oh,
Would you all agree that Coach Sherwood brought a level of elevation and sophistication to Plainview?
Class.
Class. That's the word right there. Class.
Yeah.
Mhm.
If we had some fans, we had a couple of times fans get out, it shut it down. That's not who we are. That's not who we represent. You know, and I remember we got a little dust off with Powder Canyon, one of the scrimmages. I can't remember if it was my sophomore, junior, or senior year, but they got it on film, and he was like, "We will never have. You see this?" And he run it back and forth like he did with the film. You know, he caught it on film. He kept running back and forth. This is the last time we're going to see anything like this, right, boys? Yes, sir. It's not how we do it. So he just everything about him, right, guys?
Yep.
Yeah, and what Tim was saying earlier about the 80, you know, I think probably the first week of spring training, I don't know if it's Coach Sherwood or one of the other coaches said, this is 80% mental, 20% physical. And that really, because of the size of our team, that was it, you know, and it built confidence in all of us to know that we could go out, and if we could win the mental game, then we could win the football game.
Yeah.
nice.
And the same way in life. So
Yeah, I think the thing that served me so well, and I wish everyone could experience it, but you know, there's got to be losers. But you know, it was those winning teams and winning things. I don't know, it just gave me that boost for life, because I just expected, like you said, Brett, it's like prepare and be ready, and I expected good things. I wish everybody could experience that. They just can't. But you know, for those of us that did, it's been a life-changing event.
And what's so funny is it's one of those things that's day in, day out, day in, day out. And we're lucky because this group got 3 years of Sherwood, and that was and his staff, and that was a blessing. I mean, because again, it just became who we were when we left Plainview. You can't wash it off.
Well, speaking of the other staff, let's talk about the other coaches. So,
Yes.
Roy Lee, I mean, I know Ed Moore was mentioned, but was there any other coaches there that influenced you?
Oh, sure. Coach Tomlin was my defensive coach. Love the guy. Fine man. Wendy Williams, and who was the other guy? Brett, who'd you mention? Coach Wiseman. Love that guy to death.
Coach Wiseman, yeah.
Yeah, I still see him on Facebook occasionally, man. So those three guys were probably now. I also went to church with Billingsley and Tone, and I saw Billingsley, and he was a great guy. Tone was a little bit more reserved, but Billingsley always had some wisecrack to say, even at church on Sunday morning. He'd always say something off the wall, and you'd go, "What?" So those guys, just the whole group. But
I got a Billingsley story.
Billingsley, man.
I came off to the sideline one day, and he's like, "They got around you again." I go, "Coach Billingsley, he's holding me." And he goes, "Well, I guess he wants to win." The way you want to win is don't let him hold you. Okay. Thanks, Coach. You know, anyways, but yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt, like I continue to do.
Yeah, that's all right. What about you, Bill?
I don't want to go back to something Brett said, talked about that Paladera scrimmage when we had the kind of a dust off.
Yeah.
I was on the sidelines when it started, and so of course we all headed out to the middle of the field, and I got about halfway there, and I saw Buck Buchanan pick up Robert Braddock by the back of his shoulder pads and just give him a fling backwards. And he was just flinging people. I said, I think I'm okay over here. I don't need a dose of that.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
So when you guys saying dust, I guess there was a fight, huh?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. In '82.
And if I was a
there-
betting man, it would be PW or Patrick that got in the
Yeah.
fight over there. But it was on their sideline. We were going to go help.
It's funny you mentioned Coach Buchanan. In '82, there was another fight with Plainview and Lubbock High, and I saw Coach Buchanan just grabbing players, flinging them like just matchsticks. I'm like, oh Jesus, that's a strong man.
Oh man,
Oh gosh.
that guy used to get over there in like military press, standing up like 2 1/4, just go, stuff that most of us couldn't even bench press, and he was up there just military. I mean, the guy was just
He got drafted by the Browns and then played for the Giants. And
yeah, he did.
I saw him. I stopped by his house in Ballinger about 2 years before he died. I was driving through and I thought, I do research and stuff, so I kind of have access to resources. And so I looked him up, found his address, and it's right on the road through Ballinger. I stopped and knocked on his door, and his wife answered, and she kind of giggled whenever I told her who I was, and she sent him over there, and he looked at me. He's like, "Wow, Bill, what are you doing here?"
I love it. I love it.
Coach Buck was a really good guy.
Yeah,
he was.
Well, going back to the other coaches, is he an influence to you, or with any other coach, Bill?
Yeah, Wendy Williams and Kevin Wiseman. Kevin was a defensive end coach when I was a senior, and he was always in my ear. He had a real easy way about him. Wendy could get wound up. I played linebacker as a sophomore, junior, and he could get wound up. But he didn't cuss and scream at you. But I remember first game of the year when we were playing Lubbock Estacada, and a guy named Jerry Gray played quarterback.
Yep.
Jerry
Remember that.
played for the Rams and stuff after college.
University of Texas.
Yeah, UT.
They run some kind of fake, and then he would take off to the sideline, a quarterback keeper, and he'd run over around us several times. And at halftime, Coach Wiseman says, "He runs by you one more time, we're going to have to find somebody else." And by God, the rest of the game, when that ball was snapped, I was already running towards the sideline because he wasn't going to get around me. He was so fast.
He was stringing it out.
It was unreal. Yeah, but
cool.
those two coaches, they talked to me a lot.
Nice, good. Tim?
I always just think of Coach Moore because he was our defensive tackle coach, and
And baseball.
Yeah, he used to, his hand, he could hold a whole baseball and it would disappear. So kind of on a side note, Brett and we were like the only two sophomores that were on varsity baseball our sophomore year. I never played a game. I was a catcher, and all I did was warm up pitchers. And I just remember one week we were at a game, and we would just sit on the bench and eat sunflower seeds on that. And 1 week, I think Brett had a pimple on his arm, so we were sunning the pimple to see how big it would get while we were sitting there. And the whole game we just were like in the sun watching that, eating sunflower seeds. I don't remember a whole lot, but I still remember us watching that pimple grow.
Oh, yeah.
And also, you guys remember the Bulldog bus, that old bus?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We were headed to Dumas for a game, and it started kind of heating up. And Coach Moore's like, "Burn her down," because they wanted to get rid of that bus. And we drove that bus until smoke came out of it, and it just died on the side of the road.
That's cool.
So that's how we got the Bluebird.
Yeah, I remember.
the
I remember the
Bluebird.
Bluebird. I remember the Bluebird.
Yeah.
That was a luxury bus.
That was-
It was.
Richie, how about you, man?
Well, probably Coach Witherspoon. He was
Yeah.
and Coach Bill Billingsley, because I mean those were for Coach Witherspoon. He was our position coach, and he was so encouraging. I mean, just he would
Yeah.
you know he would encourage you, but he would also push you as hard as much as he could, and then but he got everything he could out of you. And then Coach Billingsley, he was also my high jump coach in track, and so we spent a lot of time together during that period. And so he was always, I mean, like Roy Lee was saying, sometimes some things he'd say, and you just kind of look and go, "What?" But he was great, and always, like I said, he was always, and all the coaches were encouraging. And then Wendy Williams was the other one that he was our linebacker, or he was the linebackers coach, and he was always encouraging. I didn't spend as much time with him, but again, all three of them had a lot of impact on me, and just helped encourage me not only during football but in life, and kind of helped me set my next path into college and stuff really well.
That's cool.
Hey, I wanted to say something. You guys,
Go
go
ahead,
ahead, Bill. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Benny Weatherspoon, that man had the most peaceful spirit about him.
Yeah.
He was just incredibly. He was, and he had a good singing voice too. But
That's what you say.
Yeah,
he was in the gospel music, and he brought a peace to me that it just was. It was uncanny how he could just calm me down.
Yeah.
yeah,
He was such a good guy.
yeah.
Bad.
I think
It's
he
bad.
was
Lost
one
him
of like,
so long ago.
I think he
He
was
passed away.
one of
He
9
passed
kids
away,
or
right?
something like that. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
Y'all remember that first 2-a-days practice our senior year? After y'all had gone 6-4 our junior year, and kind of lost some games late because the coaches thought it was because they weren't in good enough shape. So we practiced our butts off out there for I don't know how many hours, and then he goes, "Okay, we're gonna see who's tough now," and he broke us into our defensive positions, and then we went through all this. We'd already done all this. We did 80-yard dashes, like 10 of those, and then everybody was dying. Maybe 12. I don't know what we did. It was crazy. And then he broke us into our defensive positions, and we did all these agility drills, butt rolls. Do y'all remember that?
Yes, I remember.
Butt roll.
We were doing all this crab crawls and rolling
Yeah.
on our
Oh,
butts
yeah.
and stuff.
I didn't know if
Man,
it was
y'all, I
normal
was
or not.
so
I just
tired.
went with it.
Like, I got tunnel vision, man. My vision got down to about like this. I thought I was going to black out. But that's the first time I ever experienced a second wind. I just kept going. And finally, by the end of that deal, I felt great. But I really thought I was going to literally faint on the field, because have you ever experienced tunnel vision before? The black started coming in from the side, and I was like, I can't see anything except the ground in front of me. But anyway, I think that was the first time I realized, I said, this team may end up winning district. I knew we were small and fast, but I didn't know if we were going to be any good. We were smaller than the last 2 years. But after that, I thought, man, we got some tough guys out here. So
Yeah.
You remember the other experiment they tried where we'd have to go up there Saturdays and do stretches and
Yeah.
aerobics or something. We were like,
And
they were
jog.
experimenting on us a lot.
You're the guinea pigs. They couldn't run us off.
Well, let me ask
I
a little.
remember I
Go ahead.
hated getting up on Saturday. We had to be up there like at 8 in the morning.
Yeah.
And like
Saturday
getting up
morning.
on a Saturday to go lug your butt up to the field house at 8 in the morning. That sucked.
Wasn't it film day Saturday morning?
yes, it was. Film day was
Yes.
Saturday morning.
Yeah, we started right at it. I mean, they were on top of it, because Sunday we did nothing. Sunday's a day of rest.
Yeah.
Well, guys, let me ask you a little fun question. And I've asked the 78 and the 83 football team. All you guys have probably knocked someone's head off, but I want to hear one that knocked your ass on the ground. I'm going to start with you, Mr. Mayberry. I want to know one play that just cleaned you
High,
out.
high school or college?
High school, of course.
Okay. Mark Mathis Meyer. Yeah. Matter of fact, I think either Bill or Manuel was under. They went low, and I was kind of on top. He hit me right in the stomach with his helmet, and I just all I could do was fold around him and hold on. And it was probably 3 plays later before I caught a breath. I sat there not breathing, just because right on top of me. I mean, it's just like I don't thought. You know what? I know I've never watched that film because again, that was the last game we played in. But I'd hate to see it because it looks like I just folded like a cheap tin around him.
Well, Bill, you mentioned that one high school Plainview guy that went to Harvard. Was there another big hit on you?
That's the only one I remember, but it was memory enough. I didn't need any more of that.
That's enough. All right. Roy Lee, what about you, man?
I got a couple. One of them was in the 9th grade in football, and it's when we had like 4 or 5 teams. It was before we split up into the red and the blue, and I was playing safety, and somebody gave the ball to Jimmy Collins' older brother, TC. Remember TC?
Yeah, I remember TC.
TC was full grown in like 6th grade. And so I'm running up to, and I'm running full blast, man. And I hit TC, and it's just like he just hits me and just keeps on running. And I'm holding on to his jersey and his face mask, But I mean, he literally just ran over me, and I finally pulled him down by his face mask and got a 15-yard penalty. But I mean, like he was just running over me, man. My legs and stuff, just. And then the other time I got smacked was by Tim Johnson, and
Yeah, Tim was good
we
at
were
that.
practicing some new play up the middle, and somebody didn't get their block, and I got the ball, and Tim was standing in the hole, man, and he just hit me, picked me up, and just planted me, knocked the breath out of me, and it's like I didn't say anything. I jumped right up like I was fine, but I couldn't breathe for about 2 minutes, So.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Damn, I wish I remembered that play. It sounded good.
It was for you.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I wish I remembered it.
What about you, Tim?
So I got a similar story. I think we were playing Midland League my junior year, and I was tackled anyway. I flat got ran over, knocked me out. I had a concussion, but back then nobody knew about concussions. And I just remembered he hit me. I wrapped up and just blacked out, and he fell on top of me. And I remember everybody grabbing me up like, "Good job, big hit." I'm like, "Where am I? What just happened?"
Jeez. Richie?
For me, it was against Midland Lee, and we had a crossing pattern that I was coming across the middle, and the pass was behind me, and when I turned around to try to reach for it, I got hit from both directions. I was breath totally knocked out. I'm getting up, I'm working my way back to the huddle, and everybody's going, "You okay? Okay." And of course, I'm not going out. I'm going, trying to just breathe.
Right.
But yeah, that was by far the hardest. And that was, I think of the games that, at least my senior year, the games that we played, Midland Lee was still probably the toughest game overall that I thought we played. But man, that was
a good game. That's a good game.
Every year they were good. So
yeah, beat them at home though.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, let's talk about the band and OT. I know 78, they mentioned in their podcast the Paso game. They're in the locker room and they can hear the band playing, and it just pumped them up. I mean, pumped them up, and of course, they end up kicking Paso's ass. But Brett, let me start with you. The band, how important were they to you guys?
OT Ryan's a legend, man. But I'm telling you, our band, I don't think we saw, there wasn't, the band was the team. I mean, I remember my sophomore year, Sherwood said, hey, we're gonna give the band a pep rally before they go to contest. Never heard of such a thing. So some of the, senior guys dressed up and as cheerleaders, and the whole football team showed up, and we gave them a pep rally. And it was always, I mean, for the pep rallies at high school, we loved the band. We had our best friends are in the band. I mean, they were such a part of what we did and the magic that happened in the high school. Remember when they'd march down the hallway playing, the fight song? I mean, it's just,
Oh yeah.
I think we were as proud as the band could have ever been about us.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, they had ones, they were like they were champions before when we stunk, they were champions. And so we just got to be champions with them for a little while.
Nice.
But they were legendary. They were awesome. I mean, the drum corps, I remember Brent Hackett, every time they'd hit that drum corps play in front of us, I'd just get chill bumps. It just get
That's
wild.
what I was going to say. I got the time, the first pep rally, first game of the season, they did that drum corps thing where they're passing the drumsticks back and forth in front of us over there down in the gym. Man, I just had chills. My hair was standing up. I was like, golly, if this is what it's like. OT Ryan and Greg Sherwood were friends. Normally there's kind of competition. There was no competition. They were buddies. They respected each other. I mean, I mean, it just, and Greg wouldn't, I know Coach Sherwood wouldn't have it any other way, but I mean, you guys see it any different? No, our band was fantastic.
Oh God, they could play.
Yeah, I mean, Coach Tomlin mentioned that on game day, Coach Sherwood would go visit OT a lot. And of course, OT will try to calm him down.
Yeah.
They did become good friends. So
Bill, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Bill, what do you say?
I'm just like Roy Lee. I remember they came up with some special drum deal. It wasn't the first pep rally, but towards the middle of the year, they came up with some special drum solo deal there in the gym. And I'm just like him. The hair was standing up on the back of my neck.
Yeah.
It was very inspiring.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I'm going to mention this real quick. We had Class 81. We had Murray Burkhardt, Kevin Box, and Suzanne Rogers. And Kevin Box, correct me if I'm wrong, Lisa, he wore an Anger Red T-shirt, but it was like a half cut. He put it on. Remember, Lisa?
Yes. It looked like our practice jerseys, the under jerseys.
Yeah.
That's funny.
All right, Tim, what about you, brother?
I don't remember a lot about the band really, because especially when we were playing, I was again at halftime just trying to survive another one with that. But I do remember one time, like Brett said, Coach Sherwood supported them a lot. And I remember Brett and I going over to the stadium and giving, telling them how much we appreciated them and everything during their practice one morning. And I was kind of happy to go because I didn't have to go to class. So
yeah. No.
Yeah. Come on, Tim. We all know you can't spell class.
It's amazing. I got out of college and a master's degree. And I can't even spell.
You showed up.
Richie, what about you, man? I mean, even in basketball, those had a small band.
Yeah, that was it was I still say that was it was always home field or home court advantage for basketball when the band was up there, because they would get everybody going, and they were awesome. I mean, that, like Brett was saying, they were already at the highest level before we ever got there, whatever sport it was. So they
were truly talented. I mean, because they had, there were stage bands and all this, and we're focusing on the marching band, but I mean, those guys truly were. I mean, they were amazing to watch, and I guarantee you, because they started before school, they put in as many or more hours than we did. I remember driving by and just seeing them all out there in that hot field, and nobody's handing them half a cup of water to them. I mean, But no, we had, and I guess that's the thing. We go back and they're in the hallways. It wasn't like we were the football players and you were the basketball players, or you're the band. It was just I think we all felt like one. It was us against everybody. It was that high school against every little high school around, and we just felt like we were better, but we were going to show them. And it was we did all class act. I mean, I look back and when you talk with your friends and people in the business world, I mean, Plainview is a magical. It was a neat experience. People just don't. That's not it. You think we thought it was everywhere, but it's not. Like I said, once you get it on you, you can't wash it off.
That's
Yeah.
I think someone mentioned it earlier. I don't know if we just kind of lived in a bubble, but I'm like you, Brett. I look back at that and, remember we used to hang out at the Coke machine at lunchtime. And, we had Brett, we had people from it's like, I just didn't really see distinguishing between groups for us. It may have been that way at the school. Like I said, we may have been in our own little bubble, but I just don't remember having, we basically included people. I just don't remember not including people.
Yeah. I don't need to.
You guys think about this, you talk about this unifying attitude that everybody had, but when Sherwood came, it didn't matter if you played sports or were in the band or were part of the Freaks and Geeks. Everybody in that high school was Angry Red.
Yes.
Was Angry Red.
Yes.
So
Plainview was Angry
we all
Red.
identified that, and it didn't matter if you were a spectator, a cheerleader, a band member, in Key Club or drama or in stage band, or it didn't matter. Everybody was Angry Red. There's ownership to that, and so everybody felt like we belonged to one team, one unified, common cause, and it wasn't just football.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember the guy who used to dress up as the Dot? He'd have a hula hoop inside a red costume, and he would, at different moments in a game, he'd disappear from the stands and he'd get dressed up and he'd just jump out from anywhere. Every now and then you'd see him on top of the old Rose shop or Days Cleaners right down the street. He'd be just standing there in poses, and he was Captain Angry Red or whatever.
Yeah.
It was years later that I finally found out who that was.
Who's
It was
the Doc?
Jackie Churchill.
No.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, Jackie Churchill. We stock showed with him, and our kids stock showed together, and he got to telling stories one night, and he finally fessed up to he was the red dot or whatever he was. He had a mask, and it was comical.
Since Flo brought up the Dot, y'all remember the first time we're sitting in there, we were the freshmen crowded in there, and he starts handing those out to us. You remember that? It was the first time we got together, and he's like, put it on your watch, and we're like, we don't have watches, the clock, because it's time to win. You remember that?
Yep.
And
and he gave them to like everybody in town. You go up to grown men, and they have dots. I mean, like I said, he brought a whole mental thing to it. Even remember the dog pack. I mean, he did things that make you. When I said what he brought to me or taught me was mental, those are the things I'm talking about. He just, like I said, he just did it to a new level.
But I mean,
Psychology.
But it was kind of interesting that you should bring these cut out little dots that you take the back off and stick it on stuff. And then when you see it, you're supposed to be angry because we've never won district, or, we're not winning. And so we're the angry man. And we were like, I got to tell you, I was sitting there as a freshman going, I think this man's lost his mind. I mean, that's stupid. Nobody's going to do that. Of course, about the next week, everybody, what time it is. It's time to win. Look at that dot. So
you remember they sold those boxes that when you made noise, it blinked and had Angry Red in it, and it had like strobe lights on it when you made. I mean, he somehow got those things made and sold. I mean, it's crazy.
Lisa, didn't someone in another show say that one of the girls or even you had jeans with an angry red dot on their ass, or maybe on their thigh?
I don't remember who said that. Yes, there was a shop in Plainview that sold, I think it was Christie's. It was either Christie's or Gabriel's
They embroidered that on there.
that they embroidered the angry red dot on those jeans. And I wish I remembered the brand of those jeans because I had to
DoorDash?
like mad
DoorDash.
time to pair those jeans because they were skin tight.
Yeah, the old
Right.
DoorDash.
It was Christie's. It was Christie's because they started out with this embroidered flower, and then somebody suggested that they embroider the angry red.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, gentlemen, let's change subject. Let's talk high school, not football, high school days.
Beautiful.
Where I assume you guys hung out at Gibson's. And second question is, how often did you guys go to Nazareth? And then did you dare go to Nazareth during football season? I guess it's a 3-part question. Britt. Or Tim.
No.
Tim or Tim. Whoever.
Again, in our bubble, no. I didn't touch any alcohol until like the last part of our senior year. And hell, I didn't even know how to get to Nazareth until then. And so,
And we were legal.
like I said, in our little bubble, you didn't dare touch liquor.
No. Yeah. And I'll second that. Sherwood made that clear. That's a one-way ticket off the team. And my dad kept a tight rein on me. And to be honest, I was pretty much always over at Michael Williams' house. And, her mom was a history teacher and they was pretty strict over there. Every now and then, when I'd leave her house, I'd go to Gibson's or, for an hour or so. But I didn't do much main dragging. I was probably a pretty boring. Now I look back, not much was happening in my life back then.
Roy Lee?
Not really during football season. We were, I went to church with 3 of those guys and I knew their sons. So I was kind of tired. I might have tried, but I just, like they said, he kind of laid the law and I wanted the opportunity. I didn't want to lose my opportunity to be on that team for something stupid like that. Now, after football season was over, we didn't really have an off season and, I did some things with some different guys and I even got called to task by our baseball coach, Coach Hill.
Yeah.
I'd done something
Coach
one
Hill,
weekend and we were at practice and he was like, he made a big statement about how he didn't want his guys out partying on the weekend. And he said, "Isn't that right, Mr. Mason?" And I was like, oh, so somebody had ratted me out. So, I went to, we'd go to Gibson's and run the drag, but I wasn't crazy. I lived a pretty sheltered life through high school myself. But I did a little bit made a few runs to Nazareth, especially the summer after my senior year.
Like I said, I went
All
down
bets
kind
were
of
off,
starting around May when we started doing senior parties and stuff. I
Yeah,
learned
yeah.
with that and
Yeah. Yeah, you had to know the way by then because at the corner would start getting up, man. You couldn't see, so you had to know where those turns were, So going up.
Bill, Wild Bill, were you wild?
No, not really. I didn't really ever hang out much. I had a car when I was 13 years old, and my car was strictly to get me home so I could go to work. We lived on a farm and I didn't hang out in town. I wasn't really that close to that many people in high school because I worked all the time. So
Yeah.
Okay, Richie.
I spent a couple. I mean, I dragged Fifth and then circled in Howard's parking lot and Gibson's, depending on. I think the senior year it was more Howard's than it was Gibson's, but
it was Howard's, yeah.
But the thing is that was kind of like Bill. I mean, Friday nights I was typically playing, games, and then Saturday morning, if we weren't going and looking at film for football, I was headed out to the farm to help my dad. And if we got in time on Saturday night, maybe, but I very seldom. I mean, as far as the drinking, it was never that big a deal one way or the other. And I wasn't legal until I got out of high school because I was 17 all the way through my senior year. So
You know, gas was real. I remember gas being, so I was talking to Tim last night. I didn't do a lot of riding around. I mean, gas was like 75 cents a gallon or something. I mean, I worked too hard for my money. I was gonna get a hamburger or something. I'm gonna get something to eat. I'm not gonna.
Well, hey, let's talk about teachers. I'm gonna start with you, Richie. Any teachers, not coaches, I'm talking about teachers, also did they have an influence in your life?
well, there's several. I would say probably the one that had the most influence was Mr. McBee, and he was also the assistant principal at the time. But he was our geometry teacher, and by far the he made me work for my grades as opposed to some of the other teachers. But he was really good. He was very he was a great teacher and just a great individual. But I mean, there were so many good teachers that during that time. I mean, there's Mrs. Dennis, junior English teacher, Mrs. Williams, Micah's mom. She was great. History. So there were a lot of good teachers, and I mean, like I said, Mr. McBee probably was the one that had the most influence on me. So.
Okay, Bill.
I have a 3-part answer. My favorite teacher was Sandra Williams, Micah's mom. She was tough, American history, but I loved Miss Williams. The most influential was Jane Berry, Algebra 1 teacher when I was a freshman. I decided about that time I wasn't going to do my homework ever, and I was failing. And Jane took it upon herself to call my mama.
Ooh.
And they just took one phone call, and my my attitude was immensely changed. Just to be brutally honest, that was all it took, and I finally decided, yeah, I need to do my homework, and and the rest of the year I think I made straight A. But and then the other one was Larry McBee. He didn't give the most influence on me, but he put the most bruises on me. That little left-handed devil, one time they was somebody, and it'll remain nameless, was doing donuts on the band practice field after a rain, and it was muddy, and I got ID'd by the neighbor that lived across the street. Well, they brought me in the office. I thought my world had ended when he got through with me. He beat me so hard it was crazy. It was well deserved, but man, he could board that. He played tennis when he was young, and he still had that swing. I promise you.
Tim.
He was known for that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
go ahead, Tim.
yeah, kind of like Bill, I had a couple of rounds with Mr. Mack with the paddle, so I remember that. But teacher I really enjoyed and liked was Miss McCarthy. I had her for chemistry, and she helped me out a lot, and we just got along. So I just remember a lot from her being there, and I had her for math when we were freshmen too. So, but she's teacher I remember.
Didn't you have her first period?
I think I did.
Yeah, because I was in your class.
For chemistry, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I missed the test, so while everybody was taking the test, she put me in the room behind where all the beakers and stuff were at.
Yeah.
So when I was in there, I found some cotton balls and tape. So I taped like a beard on me, and when she opened the door, I told her like, oh, and she just died laughing. So like I said, we kind of had a little better than just a teacher-student relationship. She was just really nice to me.
That's cool. Roy Lee.
we're kind of getting redundant here, but Larry McBee, another guy that attended church with us, but
Dang, everybody
good
went to
guy.
the same church and everybody played for the Packers. What's going on?
I know. He never ratted me out though to my parents at church. So I had Miss Berry for freshman algebra as well, and I was struggling, man. I don't know why. I just could not get the algebra thing. I was about to fail. And they moved me into his class, and something about the way he taught I got it, and I made straight A's the rest of the way out, man. So I really appreciated the way he taught the math. But then I got a story about him. You remember when Mr. George came and was the principal starting our junior year, and I had gone out with Monica, his daughter, but I had detention hall or something, and I didn't go to it. I knew I was going to get busted on Monday, so I go in there. Well, I had met Monica's family the Friday night before, Mr. George, and I thought I was just going to go in and see my dean, but my dean wasn't there, and so I went in and saw Larry McBee, which I was like, oh no. Well, then Mr. George witnessed my licks too, so that was might have been the other way around. Maybe I got busted on Friday, then I picked his daughter up on Saturday for a date. I can't remember. Something like that happened. So that was pretty interesting. Now, the other thing I wanted to say is, do y'all remember who that old history teacher was that had been there for like 40 years? Not history, English. She taught English. And I think we had her maybe our junior year when we read Moby Dick and all that stuff.
Moby Dennis. Miss Dennis.
That Miss Dennis? Okay, so here's my story about Miss Dennis. I'm in her class, and the first day she's naming off the roll call, okay? And she comes to me and she goes, Mason. She goes, where's Mason? And I'm sitting back there by Bracken or somebody, and she goes, are you related to Mick Mason? And I was like, yes, ma'am. And she named off several people. And so when my dad and his twin brother were in high school, her first year out of college, she taught at Plainview, and she was like 23 years old. And she's like, I remember your dad and his brothers, they sat back in the back and they gave me trouble all year long. So I got my eye on you, Mr. Mason. But she had them, my uncles, my brother, she'd had them all. So I was like the last one in line, but that was the last year she taught, and I had her in her class. But that was a pretty interesting story, Miss Dennis. So she's a great lady. So.
That's a good story. Brett?
Well, too. Y'all remember Miss Joplin?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's typing, yeah.
Yeah, typing, baby.
Oh, yeah. We took typing together, too.
Yeah. Bless her heart. She struggled with me. She was by golly gonna make sure I could learn to type. My digits just don't do what the brain tells them to. So, but she worked with me and she was kind. And then the other one would be Pat Buchanan. Y'all remember?
Pat. Yeah.
And Brett Farmer passed away our sophomore year. And I'd had like 3 classes with him. He and I were doing a lot of stuff. And man, I was struggling with his death. Something bad. I mean, we sat next to each other. And then in Pat's room, or Mr. Buchanan's room, it was me and Robert Alexander and Brett. We all sat next to him. We were just having the best year ever. And when that happened to him, I don't know. It just really freaked me out. And Coach Buchanan was like, he noticed that something was different about me, and he talked me through a lot of stuff just because I just couldn't really grasp. And I was, it was one of those things where we spent so much time together, just kind of really, I don't know, just shook me in my boots. And Coach Buchanan was real kind to me and kind of walked me through that, and was really lenient on let me make some stuff up, because I just, it's like almost you forget how to read. I'm staring at a paper and nothing's making sense. So I do appreciate him taking my time. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember walking into the cafeteria that day that the news came out, and it was just, like I said, at this point, 40 years later or whatever, I don't remember a ton about high school, but I do remember that day walking into the cafeteria, just the mood of the cafe. It's kind of like, what's going on? And like, Brett Farmer died.
Oh, it's horrible. He had called me and asked me to go with him to that rodeo that weekend.
Yeah.
My parents were like, no, they don't want you to go out of town to that rodeo. And I'm actually grateful now, because who knows, I might have been
Well,
standing there with
you
him.
couldn't go because we had a double header in baseball.
Oh, is that what it was?
And
Okay.
that's when, because I was going to go and he went by himself. And what happened? He ran out of gas. And
Yeah.
Tim Johnson, y'all
Definitely.
know, I would not get in his truck until I saw his gas tank because he always pushed the limit.
He had that old race truck, man. That old thing that was,
Yeah.
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 Yeah, that was tough.
But
Ugh.
he was a good kid. He was a good guy.
Lisa, we're at the end, so do you want to ask another question before, because we're getting close to 2 hours.
Yes, so final is in parting words. I'm going to start with Bill.
No, I go start with someone else.
Okay, Roy Lee.
What was the topic? I missed it.
Your parting words, because we're closing out our show. So anything that you want to close out with, that you want to share with your classmates and our viewers?
Yeah, growing up in Plainview, like so many guys have said on here, was such a blessing. We lived a sheltered life, most of us, but it was a blessing. We lived in our little Plainview bubble, and I can tell you that I don't know about the other classes. I think you guys have good class reunions too, but ours are so well attended. They're like, a lot of people are there if they can, if at all possible, and we just love seeing each other. I'm so grateful. I got to see Brett a couple of years ago. I was up in Tulsa working, and I called him up, and we went out, and we even got in touch with who'd we call, Brett?
Was it Manuel Gonzalez?
No, it was Stambo or
D. Allen Stambo. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, and you run into people, and I'm glad to hear that Tim is doing well, and Bill, I see some of his posts sometimes on Dill, and Richie and I, it's good to see Richie again, a couple of years ago at our reunion. So, and I love these guys, almost like brothers, and we don't talk to each other sometimes for months or years at a time, but when we see each other, it's just like it was yesterday again, and it's kind of the way we feel about it. So, and I'll leave it at that.
That's wonderful. Tim?
Yeah, I really don't have a lot to say. I'm like lost for words here. It's been really nice reliving some memories and catching up with these guys. Like I said, I feel after these deals, kind of like why you were talking about earlier, how we end up at 3 a.m. in the parking lot still talking. So I feel like I just talked to you guys last week with all these things. So yeah, like I said, just really blessed to kind of grow up in that Plainview bubble. I'm sure there's people at the high school. You're like, yeah, you guys, it wasn't that much fun for me. So, but like I said, for our little bubble, it was a blast, and I really enjoyed it. I'm thankful that I was able to have that time.
Wonderful, thank you, Richie.
Yeah, I mean, it's great seeing everyone again, and always. I always have very fond memories of high school years and sports and everything else that we, during that time. But our class, the class of '81, we are, and we were a tight knit group and still are. And I mean, like Roy Lee was saying, we don't always. We're not in conversation with people. Everyone daily or weekly or monthly. Sometimes it's just at reunions, or in some cases it's been 20 plus years, so but it's just like I said, it's just a great group to be a part of. And growing up in Plainview, I couldn't have asked for a better hometown. I still look at Plainview fondly. Every time I go back, I get disappointed when things change, but it's going to change.
Yeah.
But it's still one of those things that there's still a lot of the same as well, and you still having family there that they can go back and visit. I can keep up with almost everyone through my sister, because she knows everyone in the county.
Yes, she does.
Yes, she does.
And so so I kind of keep up that way. But again, even at our last reunion, I talked to several people that I hadn't spent a lot of time talking to in high school and got to know them really well. And it was just like, we had been buddies the whole time,
Yeah.
but we finally got to visit and get to know each other a little bit. And I will, one quick story is, I've about figured out that Plainview is the crossroads of America, because it doesn't matter where you go, there's always a chance you're going to run into someone that has lived in Plainview.
Dude, that is so true. I meet so many people from Plainview and everywhere we go, and my wife will go, how does this happen? What is this, the Twilight Zone? I run into somebody from Plainview all over the place. New York, Minnesota, it's just crazy. So you're right, man. It is nuts.
Yeah,
25,000 people get all over the place. So
this last month, I was in South Carolina. We were we were taking a catamaran out into the Atlantic to go dolphin watching, and this couple sitting next to me, and everyone's raising their hands. Where are they from Texas? And they said, where are you from? I said, well, I'm from Mansfield. And they said, well, we're from Amarillo. And I said, oh, really? I said, I'm originally from Plainview. The guy that was with them, he said, oh, I went to elementary school in Plainview. I was like, so I'll just say, we lived in a bubble, but it seemed like everybody passed through that bubble. So.
Yeah, for sure.
But again, I just, love these guys and just enjoy, our class as a whole. Really, really do.
Well, let me tell you a quick Plainview story as well before we get to Bill and Britt. I was living in Richmond 20 plus years ago, and there was a golf course called Shadowhawk, and it was a very, very expensive. I mean, Daddy Bush was there. I was a member, Roger Clemens, but they had a Three Amigos tournament, and my neighbor was a caddy, and he asked me to help out. I'm like, yeah, why not? I'll make a few bucks, no big deal. Well, we're coming up on the third hole. I'm in a part three, and there was Jim Nance, Blaine McAllister, Freddie Couples, and then the announcer with the NBC guy. They all went to U of H. Jim Nance. They were standing there. So I saw them, and then as we're driving up, Jim Nance goes, and there's is it John? Yeah, there's John Horn from Plainview, Texas. So John, I was in my group the whole time, didn't realize he was from Plainview. I'm like, hey, well, after they talked when we left, I said, John, I'm from Plainview. Bullshit. No, I am. I know your sister Carol and Joe. And so we hit it off. So, but yeah, small world.
Yeah.
All right, all right, Bill. What about you, brother?
This class was really close, and I've taught about 15 years after I graduated. I ran into Jane Berry somewhere at lunch, and she said, she recognized me and says, "You're from that class of '81." And I said, "Yes, ma'am." And told her that's who I am, and she said that class of 1981 was the best class that ever came through Plainview High School. Of course, I wasn't going to disagree with her, but she said that we had just a different way about us than some of the ones after us. No offense to you youngsters, but she was just very, very complimentary of the '81 class, and you see some of that here today. And the other thing is, we are more than a little bit blessed to been able to play under Greg Sherwood. I just don't. I can't say enough good about the man. That's all I got.
Okay. Well, thank you, Britt.
I would say that there's probably not anybody in the class of '81. If you open that yearbook and you said their name, we'd all smile, because we pretty much know everybody we graduated with, and we liked them all. We truly got along with everybody. The classes below us, again, we didn't have any animosity above or below, and I just think that we grew up with kind of an understanding that everybody's good until you prove otherwise. And I think that Plainview just shaped that for us. And I guess what sharpened that pencil for us was Greg Sherwood and his staff, because I know everybody I talk to, when we go out and we see what's on TV and what's going on, it's hard for us to understand because we didn't grow up in the world that they're telling us was at the time in the 80s. We like in the 70s, we didn't see that. That wasn't, and so it was a shock, I think, for all of us. But I think that says more than anything, because again, I can open up the book and I can just say their name of anybody, and we just all crack up, go, oh yeah, oh yeah. And I think that just says a lot about the quality that comes out of that little town. And I'm proud to be from Plainview, Texas.
Nice. Now, Benito Herrera was y'all's class, correct?
Yep.
Yes, he was.
I remember, I don't know if he did it often, you guys would know, but I saw him one time in the middle of the 50-yard line. He just sat there for like an hour or over an hour, like on Friday or something. So I don't know if you guys ever saw that or witnessed it.
That he would sit by himself?
Yeah, sit right in the middle of the 50-yard line.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Benito, I went to Highland with Benito. I know Benito real good. And by the way, Benito was a hard hitting son of a gun. That boy not to take your head off. But but Benito did, he got in his own mind. That's the way he psyched himself up. I mean, he was hardcore. He'd get in the game and he was just focused. I mean, that's just kind of who he was. Would you guys agree with that?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. Benito was a good offensive player too, man. And like you remember our 7th grade year, we made it all the way till that. I don't know what it was. We went up and played Dumas. Remember that?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And Benito was our fullback, and David Gallardo got hurt. He had twisted his ankle or something. So a lot of the running and stuff was on Benito, man. And that was a tough game, man.
Well, Benito, I'm telling you, out of all the players, I think y'all back me up on this, but Benito was one tough sucker.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
he was. He's tough.
He'd run into a brick wall and break his neck and still try to get up and do it again. Benito, he was locked and loaded. That was just kind of that's the way he did things. And by the way, great artist. The guy can draw or paint anything.
Wow. I've seen some of his stuff online. So
yeah.
Another great player that we hadn't lost our senior year was Steve Thompson.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I mean, you hit him, you knew you hit someone too. He was another tough. He was middle linebacker. He was a tough one.
Oh,
did he have little curly hair?
Yeah. He was our class president too.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, he was on that sophomore team that went 10-0. And then I think there were several guys that moved up and traveled with y'all. I think he was one of those guys as well when y'all started playing. But then he ended up breaking his neck in the summer before we started our junior year, and so he couldn't play football anymore. So he was he'd have been starting the middle with old Benito there our senior year.
Well, guys, let me ask one more question. I'm gonna turn over to Lisa. Who was y'all's Rudy Rudiger of class of 81?
Or what?
Rudy Rudiger, the Notre Dame guy from the 70s who he didn't have any talent, but he
that
worked.
Was Bill.
Bill?
It was.
Okay. Nice.
I don't know. Maybe remember those twins, not Maldonado. What were those? Remember those twins, those twin guys, those Hispanic twins?
Gosh, I can't think of their name.
Not Maldonado, but those guys always came to practice. They always were upbeat, man, and they cheered everybody on. I don't know.
I would say the whole fire department.
Well, I was fire department offense, so I tell you what, you can just throw me in there. So
Quentin was. Y'all remember Quentin?
Artho?
No.
Quentin Artho. His name was. Yeah, it was Artho, wasn't it?
I don't think so.
Quentin Hernandez.
Yes, Quentin Hernandez. That's it.
Yeah.
I was telling Quentin, but Quentin came to every practice. I mean, he was a part of everything. Huge heart. Still a great guy. I saw him at a couple of reunions. Quentin was that guy. You need somebody to hold that blocking dummy or get down in front of him and take a hit. He'd do it every time.
Yeah, you're right.
Just trying to help the team. I mean,
Probably
stuff that I'm not so sure I could do, but this cat was tough. I mean, he did. He's like, bring it, hit me hard. They ain't gonna help. Don't be nice to me. You're not helping anybody.
Well, guys, let me turn this. Go ahead, Tim. Go
I was
ahead.
going to say the guy that reminds me, and if you ask this question to the 78 team, they should have I don't remember I think it was Bruce or something. Remember, he was fire department, and he was like, he was Rudy.
Fire department. Yeah. Yeah.
He was like he never played a game, but it's like he played like Rudy did. He's like he challenged. He was, and they should have given you his name. I think it was Bruce or something.
Explain fire department.
First, he was like the man for that 78 group.
Tim, explain fire department.
Huh?
Explain fire department.
I don't remember what it was. You'll have to explain it, man. You're making me remember stuff I forgot.
Well, since I was on the fire department, I'll explain it. Fire department was they were the guys like we would go against the first team defense. I actually was a quarterback on the fire department. So and so we would run the offense that the team ran that we were going to play on the next Friday. And so we would try to run some plays that they typically ran and see if we could execute it against the first team defense, and then vice versa. We would play their defense against the first team offense and try to do some stuff that maybe they hadn't seen to try to give them a good look at what we were going to play on Friday. So
you got to be tough. It's the first team offense and defense going against the other guys who are running the other team's offense or defense. So they get killed, and then they got to run it again and get killed. So now you know what play they're running. They got to run it again and get even more killed. So it's a tough job. Those guys are tough.
I got a taste of that my junior year, of spring, and I'm like, screw this, I'm quitting. I'm playing baseball. I'm sticking with baseball. Like, nope. You have Jerry Cargill coming at me, and
Cargill,
and then I'm punting. I would have to try to get by Randy Dorsey, Mark Smith, and I forgot the other guy. The late Randy Dorsey. All these huge guys. They just threw me like a piece of
Forgot about Dorsey.
I used to have to go against Randy Dorsey and drill. I swear to God, that was like hitting a brick. I would rather run into a wall. That boy was solid and flexible. Oh my God.
Yeah. He'd sit down and put his foot behind his head and stuff. I was like, it's crazy. The guy, anyway, I know.
One thing I want to add
play the siding.
Before we go, do y'all remember when Coach Ed Moore would tell his story, and it always started with Hank, Three Fingers, and Scarface? Like, he's like, you boys played like girls yesterday. I can't go to the coffee shop because Hank, Three Fingers, and Scarface they're gonna light me up, man. Every one of his stories was like Hank, Three Fingers, and Scarface.
You always had a big old chew at the back of you too. You'd have those old gray shorts with a red man hanging out of the top.
Oh yeah.
Good times, man.
And every day's like a Sunday on the farm.
Well, Miss Lisa, I'm gonna have your last words, but before we go, remember those the shorts the coaches wore?
Yes. Oh yeah.
Well, anyway, Lisa.
Michael, I was just about to say, I just saw a meme on Facebook the other day about 80s coaches' uniforms.
Oh yeah.
Terrible.
Look just like it. I thought of Wendy Williams immediately. Wendy Williams.
Yes.
I can tell you, Lisa, I used to wear them too.
And the white socks all the way to their knees.
Yeah. That's Wendy Williams. Coach Wendy's shorts were always just a little bit too short, So anyway.
All right, Miss Lisa, let's close this out. Go ahead.
Guys, thank you so much for agreeing to come on the show, and I hope y'all have had a really great time seeing each other again and reminiscing and bringing up these really fun stories. I know everybody that watches our program is going to be really delighted to see y'all and to hear these stories and your camaraderie and go down memory lane with y'all. So thank you. We are so blessed, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you guys for the opportunity. Y'all are wonderful, man.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
Ask Britt. I hounded him for about 6 months. Brett, you got your guys. Get your guys. Come on, man. Let's get you on the show. So finally, but guys, thank you as well. I appreciate it, and God bless y'all. And
Yeah.
hey, anytime you guys want to come on, let us know. Reach out to Richie. I love to do a basketball one with you. So,
Well,
guys,
if you can find Alton Jackson Jr. and some of those guys off of that 81 and 82 team,
okay.
that'd be great.
Hey, love you guys, man. Y'all be
All
safe.
right. Good night.
Take
All right,
Thank you.
thanks.
Thanks.
Love you.
Well, this
Yeah,
one
but-
ran late, but oh my God, it's okay. They just kept going and kept going, and it was a great show. Another one.
It was. I loved the cohesiveness of it, and
Yeah.
it's just a flowing conversation. Really, the questions were more of an interjection. I mean, it was great.
Yes.
Great.
So let's just keep this short. So who's our next week's show?
Next week's show is I don't remember.
Our class of '83 baseball players.
Oh yes, hello.
Yes.
I'm already thinking ahead about the cheerleading show.
That's in 2 weweeks. The class of '82
Yeah,
cheerleaders.
next
I know
week.
you're excited, but yeah, next week we're gonna have Andrew,
Gwyneth,
B, Quineth, oh geez, Coach Brown. Is that it? Possibly Peter. I'm trying to think of anyone else, but yes. So we're gonna have another good show, and then in 2 weeks we'll have the class of '82. So anyway, well, thank you, and
okay.
have a good night.
Have a good night.
Peace and love. Peace and love.